All right, Bulls and Bears, welcome back. Welcome back to another dose. And here we are. It is April 9th, 2024. The eclipse happened yesterday on April 8th. And just as I told all of you, I said there was a nothing burger that was supposed to be, or a few people out there, a lot of people out there, theorized that some big crazy events were going to happen during the eclipse, including blackouts, not just the sun getting blacked out, but actually the grid going down. Other theories out there that there were going to be, mass uprisings, all kinds of weird stuff, right? Let me tell you this: at some point, there will be a situation that unfolds that's going to change our world. Just think 2020. I think it's going to be something on that magnitude. But will it be telegraphed, and will it be a day that everyone is going to predict correctly in advance or know in advance? No, it's going to be a surprise situation that drops, right? So that's what I'll say about that. I think it's going to be something that's going to be systemically altering, right? So I think it's going to be something within possibly the banks or something outside of the banks that affects the banks, such as a lot of, I'm trying to use the right word here, um, a lot of legal issues coming up for a lot of, let's say, famous and very well known and very wealthy people, right? I'll leave it at that. I'll let you use your imagination on that. I got to be very careful here. Let's go ahead and get into some news, though. And let's talk about this Bank of America. Shocking, but not so shocking if you've been following what's happening with the banks here. Bank of America wraps up bond losses that could top, and I don't use the word could, but they are. It has topped $100 billion. If you look at the derivatives books on these banks, the derivative exposure, we're talking in the trillions, tens of trillions of dollars, 80 trillion, 100 trillion to some of these banks. It's mind blowing. But if you just look at the bond losses, we're looking at $100 billion. It says here out of this article, the bank said it plans to hold onto the bonds so the losses would melt away as the bonds get paid off or mature. So according to what Bank of America is saying here, is this is nothing that all they have to do is hold on to these bonds and they're just going to melt away. What does melt away mean to you? I think it's going to be the central bank's going to come in and buy all of these bonds and just add it to their balance sheet, add it to their portfolio, right? That's the name of the game. The central banks come to the rescue anytime one of these big, quote, systemically important banks gets into trouble. And they've already said that there's certain banks that will not be allowed to go under, and the smaller regional banks and mid-sized banks, they will be allowed to either one, fail, or two, get bought up by the big mega banks, the systemically important banks, right? You see what's going on here? Do you see the game, folks? Do you really think they're going to let the entire banking system go down on their watch in this year 2024? I think you're going to be in for a big surprise. I've been telling people to prepare for more inflation. We've got to see something big implode the debt markets, right? So could it be an act of war? Could it be something massive out there that's going to bring the system down, bring the debt markets down, and freeze up lending, which would instantly crash the economy in a snap of a finger? The economy would crash once people can no longer take out debt. So once the debt markets freeze up or implode, it's game over. Your guess is as good as mine. Is that going to happen? Is it not going to happen at some point? Sure, it'll happen. Will it happen this year? I think the powers that be are going to try to prevent that from happening this year. So it would have to be something big, way outside of the purview, I think, of the central bank and the central planners here. Well, let's talk about this here. Another sign of the times. And you tell me if the economy is doing good with stories like this out of Newsweek here. Americans skip meals to afford homes. You tell me. Americans are sacrificing vacations and meals to keep a roof over their heads, according to a recent survey from Redfin. A fifth of those questions said they have gone without food to save money so that they can direct the cash towards paying their rent or their mortgage, right? And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So many people are working, of course, we know, we've talked about it here, working multiple jobs, gig economy jobs, second jobs, getting a part-time job, both spouses working or both partners working, people getting roommates. You see a bunch of cars now parked out in front of every home, it seems like. One, because kids or people in their 20s, even early 30s, are staying at home longer, living at home longer with mom and dad. So you got all these cars parked outside. Just the house right outside here, two houses down from me. It's a 3 bedroom house. I know it's because the same design as my house, and there's like 6 cars parked out there, right? And like 5 or 6 people living there. So this is what people are doing to get by, not just skipping meals, taking on roommates, living at home for longer. And folks, this is just a very sad thing to have to report. Even people that are homeowners, a lot of them are going to be basically a slave to their mortgage until they're in a wheelchair, unfortunately, with a 30-year mortgage. And a lot of people won't even do that. As soon as rates drop, they're going to go refinance for another 30 years. So people in their 40s and 50s refinancing for 30 years. By the time a lot of these people get their home paid off, they're going to be in their 60s, 70s, or even 80s, which is sad. And if you look at the big picture on housing, we'll talk about housing again here in just a few minutes, but housing also, only about 1/4 of homeowners actually own their home free and clear. The other 75%, they're in a mortgage. Hopefully not one where they're having to skip meals. But anyway, that's what Newsweek's reporting. So don't blame me for being the doom and gloom guy. I'm just telling you what other news outlets are saying. I'm just telling you what the data is saying with the amount of debt that people are carrying. Right? This is not, a lot of this is not my opinion. It's what the numbers indicate are happening. More people are living at home for longer periods of time, into their mid 20s, 30s. A record number of people did pull funds out of their 401k last year. Again, not me making that up. These are real numbers. These are statistics. Now, the debt levels right now amongst the U.S. consumer population is about over 30% higher than what it was at the peak before the great financial crisis, which was 16 years ago now, 15. These are stats. These are data points. These are numbers. I'm not making these up. This is not my opinion. And you can do with these numbers what you will. Do what you will with this data. Will there be another huge economic downturn, or will there be so much money pumped into the banking sector, and will there be so much money thrown at the problem that we will not see a correction or a downturn or a price drop or a drop in cost of living? It's going to be all inflationary, just like we've seen in many other countries around the world. We've seen hyperinflation happen. It's possible to happen here. Just because we're the U.S. doesn't mean that we're the almighty and that we're immune to the effects of off the charts, off the scale money creation. All right. So I think people need to be aware of that and be ready, because a lot of people are 100% confident that there's going to be this crash, right? And people often accuse me of saying there's going to be a crash. Could there be? Absolutely. But the odds, I think, are even greater, and the risks are greater for a either massive inflationary or hyperinflationary situation coming at us here. I would rather see a 2008 type of market correction crash where the banks stop lending, prices come down. That situation is very painful, but it can be, you can pick up the pieces and start again from something like that. Hyperinflation, where everything becomes massively expensive, kind of like we're seeing now. We're not seeing many price crashes. We're going to talk about car prices here in a minute, but we're headed into a very, very dangerous situation if they don't reverse course on the money creation. They're talking about cutting rates when the cost of living is still way too high, just like the article points out, people missing meals in some cases to make their rent, to make their house payment, right? This is very, very, very dangerous. I think we need to be aware of these things in order to position ourselves and put our money in smart places. All right, let's talk about used car prices, folks. 15% year over year. And this is right about what I said would happen. I said there would not be a crash, right? Again, all these people saying that I said there was going to be a crash, just the opposite. There will be some price drops, some corrections in some areas. Rents coming down slightly, even though they went up again last month. Home prices went up again last month, but overall, I do see softening of those areas. Car prices similar, 15% now year over year. I've been looking at some listings for cars just to kind of see what's out there. In my area here in California, I'm not seeing a big difference compared to last year. It's not that noticeable to me. But according to Manheim Used Vehicle Index, we're down 15% year over year on used cars. So to those that waited, you are rewarded a little bit, right? So on a $30,000 car, you might be down about 3 or 4,000, making that car about 26.5, somewhere around there when you look at 15% of 30,000. So a little bit of good news here and there with lower costs, lower prices. Of course, to each his own. If you just bought a vehicle and now you're underwater, 15% plus continued depreciation beyond that, then not so good news. But if it's a good running vehicle and it gets you back and forth to work and it allows you to keep a roof over your head, then it's still, not a life altering or life shattering event. But I hope you guys are well. Hope you're not missing meals to make your rent or your house payment. Yes, my finger's still broken. People were asking me about that. I'm looking for good surgeons. And the first surgeon that I talked to said they'd have to take something out of my forearm. Was it a ligament, a tendon, to reattach my pinky? I'm hoping not to do that. I'm hoping not to operate here to fix here. I'm going to get a couple more opinions. In the meantime, you'll see this annoying, to me, it's annoying because I have to type at my job. And you'll see this thing on my finger for a while. Anyways, hope everybody's well. As always, keep stacking, and we'll see you in the next video. Please give us a like if you like what we talk about here, and subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. Help keep this channel alive. Thank you all very much. We'll talk to you very soon. Bye now.